So let's talk about what door you're going to pick in this relationship. Our narcissistic relationships are often a series of dead ends. So which door are you going to pick? Door number 1, keep blaming ourselves and feeling bad that we could not make the relationship better. Door number 2, keep engaging and get caught in never-ending, word salad-filled, gaslighted, and exhausting daily battles, and then blaming yourself anyhow. Or door number 3, disengage. And this may be just not interacting, turning down the volume on their gaslighting, not taking their bait. Which door are you going to pick? At this point, you may have already picked all 3 and recognize, wait a minute, this isn't like let's make a deal. One of these doors does not have a car behind it. They're all the goat. None of these feel great. We do know that healing often means taking the disengagement door because there's not much point in engaging. It often just results in the narcissistic person just continuing on their false narrative about you and the world. Nothing is heard, little gets communicated, and so just sticking to the facts and the true north when you do engage is often the best way forward, meaning that not really engaging, and if you do, only engaging on the big ticket stuff that matters to you. Disengagement and radical acceptance go hand in hand. When you disengage, it often means, even if it is begrudgingly and sadly, that you get it, that you recognize that there is no point and you see the relationship clearly. If you have to continue engaging in it, you are aware of the practical or realistic reasons, but hopefully are no longer pinning anything on a meaningful hope that things could change. Well, the tough part about disengagement is that you still feel bad. Many people will say that when they disengage, that they feel as though they themselves are being the manipulative ones, or that they even feel sad, bad, or pity for the narcissistic person who no longer has anyone taking their bait. That is something to chew on. Is it manipulative to disengage? Most, if not all, people get there when they realize that there is nothing that they can do or say to make themselves clear, to communicate something that needs to be communicated, and to shift the distorted perception that the narcissistic person has of you or the circumstances. For example, they may hold a position like, you always get your way, you are needy, you are sensitive, nobody around here does anything, which is simply a distortion of reality. People get to disengagement in narcissistic relationships when they are exhausted or when they finally do recognize it and things are not going to change. One thing that is important to know about disengagement, it is only, if you're concerned that it's a manipulation, it's only a manipulation if you're using it as a passive way to get your needs met, because that's manipulation. But if you are disengaging because of a formal recognition that there is no point, that's survival. Now, disengagement is a step towards healing because, as I said, it not only fosters or cements radical acceptance, but it also stops you from putting so much energy into the relationship, depleting yourself, and also helps you start chipping away at the trauma bond. It isn't easy because the physiological and emotional responses the relationship brings out of you, even if you intellectually get it, keep coming, which can mean that especially at more vulnerable moments, you find yourself getting pulled back into the same messy conversations, and that's okay. Healing is gradual, and if anything, these reminders show us how the relationship really doesn't change, and that it's on us to be curious about these moments when we do engage and pay attention to our bodies and our histories. In some cases, when folks disengage from narcissistic relationships, especially if the narcissistic person is smart and somewhat observant or really anxious, they will notice, they'll recognize the disengagement, and they may even feel that they're being punished and literally say, oh, so now you really aren't talking to me, even though you're being completely pleasant, but you aren't taking the bait in the same way, nor are you expecting to get any needs met. So you wash the dishes yourself without complaint, but they notice it. They won't do the dishes, but they are pissed off that you're doing them happily. These relationships really are some sort of hellscape catch-22 nightmare. Or it could be, oh, I see the game you're playing. You just want me to look bad. So folks, they do kind of get it. And when you switch it up and stop playing the part that allows them to maintain the narrative that you are just as bad as them, or you are selfish, or you are demanding, and you pleasantly disengage, it's a bit of yellow rock. There may still be hell to pay, but I promise you this, when you do disengage like this, you see it clearly. It pulls all the clutter out, and the wondering if it's your words that are doing something. Nope. This relationship only works if you play your part of getting in the mud with them. But if you don't know that's a part, you're getting in the mud with them potentially because you think it's going to change things. The word healing is often associated with getting better or feeling better. And that is why disengagement can feel tough. Because when we disengage from one of these relationships, we may very much feel guilty. I myself had an experience recently with a narcissistic person who I have known for a long time. I have radically accepted the stuff in this relationship to the skies above. Can't step out of it, and I've completely disengaged. My interactions with this person are pleasant enough. I don't take the bait. I no longer get exasperated at the selfishness and the carelessness and the entitlement and the marginal empathy because I know it's there and it's coming and I'm aware of why I have to keep interacting with this person. So I assume that this person will have zero interest in my life because they really never have. So I don't share anything with them. I don't talk about good news, bad news, nothing. I stick to the weather and some ridiculous details. They hear about some things about my life from other people or in passing conversations. Sometimes they ask me a question here or there, but by and large, they're not interested. One day, though, this person became very interested in something that matters to me. And they got prepared in a genuine way to help me. But I was actually rushing to an airport or a train station or something, and I couldn't benefit from their help because I wasn't going to be around. At that moment, what they were offering was kind, generous, helpful, and it kind of hurt my heart because I saw I guess I felt like they were trying. And my quiet last tiny thread of trauma bondedness woke up from a very long nap and said, hey, RAMANI, yeah, sweetie, these wounds are old and maybe this is your fault. But because the train was leaving, I had to go to the station and I thanked this person for their offer. And I felt sick in the taxi to the station like I had been the one who had done a bad thing, that I had rejected or abandoned someone. I felt sorry for them. I felt pity for them. But then I breathed and I did all my grounding stuff. I still felt icky, but I also could simultaneously see that they just assumed I would be ready when they were. The help was not offered on the days it was so obvious I was struggling to get the thing done. They never attempted to communicate with me about my schedule. They didn't see me packing my suitcases. They didn't pay attention when my travel arrangements were discussed. That day, that moment, it worked for them for whatever reason it did to show up the way they wanted. But it didn't work for me. And I thought of all the times that I had twisted my schedule around to take their help at the random and often ridiculous and inconvenient times that they would offer their help. At the few times they did, trying desperately to trick myself into believing that there was something healthier here than there was. On that day, some time, a nap on that train, breathing, grounding, journaling, therapy, all took some of the sting away. But damn, that trauma bond dies hard. And even as I talk about it, I feel a mix of grief, pity, sadness, and that there is somehow something cold in me for not being more clear about my travel times. Maybe it was my fault. The fact is, it wasn't. And where something like that once would stick in my chest for months or even years, I was actually able to move on from it in a matter of days. That, folks, is healing. And also, an empathic, compassionate part of me is the part of me that got sad. I saw someone try, whatever the hell that means. And a wise part of me said, they were doing what works for them, and they never considered me. They never really did. When empathic meets wise, that's where the healing happens. It still sucks, but it sucks for a much shorter period of time. Because that's often the takeaway for people who do finally take the gradual step to disengage. That you are cold, rejecting, abandoning, to let that go. Not all of you, but some. And even if you can get past that, other people around you may view you that way. Like, gosh, they just want to talk to you about something. Can't you just have a conversation with them? That kind of thing. So, your options are keep trying to get it right and communicating and it never working and blaming yourself and feeling that you are the problem for not trying harder. Keep engaging and have life be a mess of arguments, gaslighting, and you wondering if you are behaving just as badly as them. Disengage pleasantly, but disengage nonetheless, and feel guilty or pity them when they are on their back foot because you aren't taking the bait, or on the rare and often mistimed occasions that they step up and behave in a way you wish they always would. Listen, folks, I still prefer door number 3 because over time, it is still a path toward firming up radical acceptance and healing. But it's easy to get psyched out of that disengagement path because it can feel so sad. At least when you were fighting with them or really engaging with them. The rationalization that, oh, well, I'm in this too, feels easier than the idea that you finally pulled their mask off. Empathic wisdom is disengagement. It isn't about being cruel, but it is about the tiny wisp of tightrope you walk, where you protect yourself, but still have empathy for them. See it clearly and have compassion for yourself and, frankly, them on the tough days. Disengagement isn't silent treatment, stonewalling, passive aggression, or punishment. It is awareness at the highest level. But because of these dynamics of these relationships, it still hurts. So it's still an icky door. But it's probably better than the other two. Thanks again.